Good morning. Hello. Happy Thursday. Yeah, it's Thursday today. Scott, hello. How are you doing today? Albert, hello. How are you doing? Oh, and we have a Zilby here too. Okay, let's move the camera to face Zilby. And Asitsu, hello. All right. Asitsu, thank you for helping out in the Discord for that question. It's probably the way to go with Axon middleware. So hopefully that helps the ping you. Unreal Realities, hello, good morning. And of course, good morning to Zilby too, who is looking extremely tired this morning. So that's fun. Scott, how did I learn to set up Helix? It was a combination of trial and error, and then going through the documentation, and then mostly that, and also like chat help. I find like a lot of things, like when it's first going through, like, oh, chat can help a lot because there's usually somebody else who's done it before. So that's how. Plus, I'm pretty good at just randomly experimenting with stuff until like I figure it out. That's the old sysadmin in me, where it's just experiment with stuff, figure it out. Like Rust. Yeah, exactly. Like Rust. Or like any programming language or anything really. Something that I remember affected me and how I try to learn a lot when if you've ever learned the history of like computers, back in the 80s, 70s, I think it was probably 80s, Xerox PARC was like they had invented the like graphical user interface with a computer. So they didn't invent a computer, but they did invent the GUI essentially. And one of the ways they sort of like were doing testing for it was they brought a bunch of kids and they just like gave them toys that they had never seen before, and they just watched them learn how to play with the toys, like how to use them. And they discovered like, okay, you do these type of experimentations and you do everything else, and then they designed the computer to essentially be explorable and learnable via that method. And Jobs stole it. It's really hard to claim that Jobs stole it when Xerox PARC chose to like let Jobs have a like the hardware. He walked in and they're like, "Hey, can I have this?" And they're like, sure. We're not going to do anything with it." Like they spent all this money to like get this GUI, and then they brought it to like Xerox management, and Xerox was like, "Why would we ever want to do this? This is stupid. Nobody's going to want a computer on their in their house. There's no money here. Just yeah, whatever." And so then Jobs and I believe Bill Gates was able to take it. And so like, okay, well, I guess this is ours now. So that was fun. Xanax, hello. I think the stealing between Microsoft and Apple is probably a little bit more defendable, or no, this is less defendable. Though the stealing from Xerox when they were not using it themselves is maybe a little bit more defendable. However, a lot of people a lot of big names came out of Xerox PARC. Like a lot of the big companies, like essentially had people that were working there that then went and founded those. So a lot of good came out of the out of PARC. Okay, how are you doing today, Xanax? We are continuing to work on the environment variable lesson. Okay, so we have loading environment variables locally, so we have different methods to do it, but we're going to focus on this one. We recommend, and we'll be focusing this lesson on using the .env file to load sensitive data. This way the other file, okay, so good. Microsoft still paying Apple for the use of the GUI. Oh, are they doing that? I didn't realize that that was going on. So let's see. And then okay, so we have that. So let's the .env. Crossbow, good morning. Hello. We use cloud as they use dumb terminal and big company computer. Cloud just fancy name for old techs. It is. I remember when I was working, one of my first jobs as a systems administrator. I was working for a local, I was working for the state court system. And they had gotten these fancy new thin terminals from Gateway, I want to say. It was like, they were big at the time. They hadn't fallen yet. And it was a super interesting idea. Basically, the thin terminals were desktop computers. They were normal desktop computers, but they had a really tiny hard drive, like really tiny. And they didn't have much. They were basically just screens with a tiny computer inside of it. And the computer locally was only there to boot the service and to store, basically be local storage. And then all of the actual stuff that it did was sending requests to the server, and the server would actually do all the processing power for it, and then send it back. So your if you logged in on one side, thin client did I not say thin client? Did I say thin something else? But yeah, thin, basically the thin client made it so that they could you could log in anywhere on any of the systems on the network, and basically you had the same shell. You had the same exact settings, you had the same background, you had the same everything else. It was great. It was great because it made it really easy to configure stuff, and really easy for us as systems administrators. Users hated it. They could not stand it because there's lag. Now, a good part of the lag might have also been because this was on a token ring network. Yes, I helped add nodes to a token ring network. That was a thing. Then later on when I went and actually got like education, like started learning about like networking stuff, I'm like, "Oh, token ring, that's that thing." And they're like, "Oh yeah, and then nobody does this anymore because it's like, it is nowhere near as fast and has a hard limit." I'm like, "Yeah, that would explain things." Out of curiosity, how many of you have even heard of a token ring network? Because these days it's all Ethernet. Like Ethernet is the only thing that exists. Even Wi-Fi is designed like Ethernet. Heard of it? Glad to never have worked with it. Yeah, it was an an over optimization when it comes to hardware and networking. Also, hello 404 not found. How are you doing today? It was an over optimization. Like the theory was that when we send out network on a like copper wire, then if like they're just electrical pulses, right? They're just binary electrical pulses. So if we send out like pulses of electricity on the network, and it just sort of goes to all the systems, what if some other computer sends it at the exact same time? Uh, it's going to collide, and then that's going to mean data loss, and data loss is really bad. So therefore we should minimize data loss. It'll be faster, right, if we don't have any data loss. That's the theory behind it. Well, how do you do that? Well, if you want to have no data loss whatsoever, you send it only one direction, so around in that direction. But then you also, no, it's not that. That was the other thing. That was the token itself. uh you send it out, but only if you have the token. If you have like the token, you're allowed to send it. And the token went in a ring around, and so like your computer would get it and say, "Do you have anything to send?" "Nope." "Okay, next." Like pass it on to the next computer. I have his food down under the table today, so because I figure you don't want to watch him eat. So when he gets hungry, he jumps down, he eats like a couple bites, and then he'll jump back up and then hang out here. You had some thin clients in your school. They worked once in a while, and there was no way to launch anything needed GPU of some kind. Some software wasn't running, but it may be an issue with the RDP server rather than the thin clients. It is absolutely possible to configure RDP servers to use the GPU on the remote server and to do everything correct with that. So that the problem is less of um, the GPU being out. It's more of like there's a latency in like you doing a command and it happening on the server if there's like high load, or if there's like a large amount of data that needs to be transferred back and forth. Uh, so in that case, it's like, because I remember when I was working as a system administrator at full time, like having like earned my stripes and everything else like that, some of our bosses like, "Ah, man, the thin client days were great, they were super cheap, and we should just go back to them. How much would it cost to go back to them?" And we're like, "Oh my gosh, you were working with terabytes of data. You do not want to, like." And they're like, "Well, just name a number. Like, no number's too high. Name a number." And we're like, "Okay, we'll need $5 million." And you're like, "Okay, there's a number too high." The fun times. It's one of the few times that you see like tech people, that the tech people are saying no to to do technology type stuff with like from management. it was it was a very sort of like surreal thing, because usually it's like, "Hey, can you just like not like it'd be like the system and say like, hey, can we try this new technology? And management going like, no. It wasn't that bad as the USB ports weren't working anyway. So the only thing to transfer was a video feed and the mouse keyboard signals. That sounds like just broken stuff. And a video feed is actually not that hard to transfer over. Like it's a streaming setup. People have been getting streaming working on systems forever. So it just works. And then mouse keyboard signals are easy too. Yeah, even when we were 100+ students, it's good networking. If you have good networking, you're fine. If you have terrible networking and you misconfigured the routers, then there's nothing you could do. It's gonna suck. Okay, the .env file is as simple as it sounds. A file named .env in the root directory of the project. This file will hold key value pairs, key value pairs. So then let's do it. Is this shell? Like, what would this be? Like, should I just do sh? So we do key equals value. Like we could have database URL. Username, like maybe one more, maybe we can do like environment, something like that. As a student, there are other problems anyways. You all, yeah, there's always other problems. There's always that. Even Google Stadia failed. Yeah, but did it fail because the technology wasn't there yet? Because like, take a look at some of the other services. Like Microsoft still has their service. NVIDIA still has their gaming remote service. I even know somebody who decided they wanted to set one up. So they experimented with using AWS to create, to be able to spin up a desktop with a really good GPU, install Steam on it, and then you could just remote play a game whenever you want. And he said that it was great. It worked really well, except it was expensive. That was the only negative. And so if you like shut it down as soon as you're done, then you're good to go. And the lag wasn't that bad as long as you had decent internet. Oh, you remember OnLive? I never played on OnLive, but I think that OnLive was on. Did OnLive come before? Oh, what was Twitch before Twitch? It was Jason TV. It was J something TV, right? Justin TV. Right. Yes. Justin. Yeah. Okay. So I remember OnLive had the, like, you can watch people playing online. And they were so close. Imagine if they had like configured that service to be like one of the like a better system. You could watch people playing and like they could comment on it and do other things. They could have been the Twitch. But yeah, that was cool. All right. Key value, database URL, dev. Okay, so env dev. So, notice we don't need the export command, like normal shell environment variables. Also, the .tv and twitch.tv is not for television. Yeah, back in the day, back in the day, the in America, you only had access to .com, .org, and .net. I think there's some other ones like .edu, .gov, but those were like specific for different things. And then all the other domains like .tv, .uk, everything else, those were country specific domain names. And normally they're only available for people inside that country, but some countries opted to sell theirs, to sell access to them to just companies, whatever they want. And so it was Tuvalu. Okay, yeah, so Tuvalu basically sold access, so you can get anything.tv. They realized that that was a pretty good domain name, as they started monetizing that, and a lot of others did too. Nowadays, you only use the domain names for a country specific if you want to like say, hey, this is optimized for in this country. Otherwise, it's always like .com or something. And then there's like 100 things or 1,000 things, and they're not region specific anymore. But it's kind of like interesting to sort of like think back to those days. Like, oh man, back then I wanted a domain and like it had to be one of the three. that was it. Or I pay a ton because I'm in the States. I have to pay a ton of money for like a country one, which I'm not about to do. Okay, so notice we don't need the export command like normal shell environment variables. Also, we don't need quotes. We don't need quotes, and spaces are, we don't need quotes. There are a couple things to consider here. We don't need the export command like normal shell environment variables. We don't need quotes. We don't, spaces aren't supported. Variables are all uppercased. Application layer can be considered Wild West even today, right? Also, hello, Rebel Decibel. How are you doing today? I could see that. I mean, like, there's still a lot of Wild West in the internet and the web. I think that a lot of it is based upon that the way that the internet works was designed in the 80s by science and education. The method of the internet was designed by military, and then what was it? It was basically if you wanted to like, you have to work within that level. Like, for example, in email, there was never any consideration for security for email, because like that was Like, who would ever want to hack somebody's email or like intercept people's email? Like, why would you want to do that? It's only going to be scientists and teachers sending emails back and forth, right? So we're going to be okay with that. And then the same thing for everything else. And so like every time there's like this big change to like add in some kind of security, it like is this big to do because it has a risk of breaking everything. Like there's a big security. I remember I was working as a sysadmin when there's a big security, deal back in 2012, 2014, something around there. May have been before that either. Even might have been like in like 2000s. But China told China had one of the root DNS servers, because like they're all around. There were something like 20 of them or so, and China configured their DNS server and basically said, hey, it's faster to get to like Google or whatever. Google, I don't think me not even been around then. It's faster to get to wherever you're going through our DNS. Like, we have the slowest ping. We have the lowest ping. And just like all of the other DNS servers just trusted and said, okay, I got it. And then all traffic for that, like heading to those like areas, went through China. And that was considered by its security community to be a test to see whether or not like it could be done, and then just sort of like vacuum up a bunch of data, because it went through their servers. They could just watch all the data and see if there's anything not encrypted. It was theirs. And that was like we need to do something about this wake up call. Joey, hello, how are you doing today? The .fr extension is reserved for European people organizations, and it's pretty cheap, around €15 for 3 years. Oh, that's nice. Oh no, all the packets, and that's the problem, is that the networking was basically saying, hey, it might have been that. I don't remember. It might have been also data stuff too. They might have done some more things. It's been a long time, and I haven't really thought about that story in a long time. So I may have some details wrong, but I know that it was a pretty big deal in the security world at the time, and a lot of people were talking about it. And it might have just been host names, but like that could also include a lot of interesting things. It might have been routing stuff. They might have played with NAT too, though. Wait, not NAT. It might not NAT. What's the other one? There's the one that will tell all the routers what's the fastest route to something. I forget what that's called. You got your .dev domain for €14 a year. Over here, I was using Google domains because it's just like a really nice interface, and it works pretty well until they decided, hey, we're just not going to do this anymore. And that was $12 US a year, $12 US a year. And it seems to be like consistent. Like, it seems to be anywhere between 12 and like what, 10 and like $15 US that I can find. Oh, your came with SSL certs and the domain itself. Mine did not. Although I do remember back in the day when you had to use hosts like see, this was like before GoDaddy, so like you had to choose one of those, which I don't even remember what the classic one, the old ones that existed. They were not fun to work with. But yeah, they would often sell you SSL certs and domain itself, and it was just confusing and like hard to figure out how to do. I was as a system administrator, and I was like, I don't know what's going on with this. I was trying to help somebody like set it up. And I'm like, this is so confusing. What's going on? And now it's super easy. Possible suggestion: add functionality of adding comments in .env. Wait, can I do comments? I constantly forget. Let's double check. Because like I think it's different for different systems, right? Can I use comments here? Okay, well that's very helpful. Maybe you have the gear copy of that, so maybe you can tell me. Cool. Okay, so it does work with comments. Never mind. Yeah, good call out. Let's add that in. You host your stuff on GitHub Pages, so free hosting. Like tools like GitHub, like well, I mean, I guess like mostly like GitHub for GitHub Pages type stuff, that really changed the game because it allowed you to have stuff like free hosting. But for if you ever like hear people go like, I have no clue where to host, like it's gonna cost me like $30 a year to like host my or maybe not even it'll cost me like $10 a month to host a website, is because they're still they're still like thinking of the era where there are no free hosting. And sometimes it's only us developers that know of these secrets because like they're developer tools. We know how to do it. Oh yeah, the .env example. I keep on forgetting myself to put a .env example in repos when I create them, and it sucks. You have questions about Zellage. Sometimes I SSH to my computer on Android tablet. When I start Zellage, there was random Q letter showing on input. When you use Tmux, no problems. I haven't been using Zellage on SSH in, so I don't know about that. Is it like showing up in like all the inputs, or is it just something like it's just a queue there? But yeah, I don't know if I can. I've not seen that, but I've always been just using Zellage locally as a window manager, essentially. Oh, just on in and out. Yeah, I don't know about that. But I've not tried it either, so I'm not a good example for that. Albert, you already have more than 200 lines of tests for the digits int handling of your printf, and you're not done half of them. Oh no, there's gonna be so many. I'm sorry. Static hosting, so it makes sense. It's free if you were to post a web app to a more complex site. But that was the big thing, is like back then you paid like $10 a month back then for static web applications, or you know, you got PHP access for free too. That was the thing. It was such a bad deal. But like there were no alternatives back then. It was like either set up your own system and do it, or buy cloud hosting. But modern devs don't let friends use modern cloud hosting or old style cloud hosting because it's just too expensive and it breaks all the time, and they don't really care about it. Not into memory, into like actual environment variables. You host your website on a $5 a month VPS that is also used for many other things, and that's a, you know, it's a good deal and it works. How much nowadays cost for hosting basic static site, aka simple JS and small JS? Okay, so what's, so if I'm trying to think of like what's let's say I'm not a developer, I'm just a normal, like I'm a normal business person. I've gotten my MBA. I don't know anything technical, so I do a Google search for like host website, right? Like host website. You probably want to build it with WordPress, so it's gonna be one WordPress because that's all you know. And after you get through all the hosts, you don't do it on WordPress.com because, let's see, so your choices are like GoDaddy, okay, Forbes literally has an article of the 10 best WordPress hosting services in 2023 that came out earlier this month. All right, this is much better. It used to be way more. I think they've come down in price because they know that they can't handle it. It used to be so much more. Oh, wait, featured partners. This is just an advertisement. But it doesn't matter. It's pretty much the same ones here. Oh, look at this. Look at this. $1 per month, billed annually, renews at $10 per month. So, yeah, look at that. they're getting you with like the first month is really cheap, and then they hit you hard with the second month. But with like WordPress, you should be able to get away with like not like a $5 a month VPS. Yeah, this is what I remembered. They didn't used to have like the original pricing here. It used to just start with this because they like figured that nobody else knew how to do it. But it looks like they're the first year is now really really cheap. And some of these like okay, so I remember DreamHost, Bluehost, HostGator, GoDaddy. Those have been around forever. And none of us need to ever use this. None of us devs. So you go on a call and come back to WordPress. Yeah, that's it's what we do here. It's I sort of like, I have a script that runs that tells me when you're all going on like a call, and then like we'll switch over to WordPress right when you're gone, so that way you're super confused. Now we were chatting about static hosting and like how basically how we developers know how to get like free stuff, but nobody else does. Like if you're not a developer, if you're not in the tech world, you are basically at the mercy of like one of those companies that's going to charge you $10 or more a month. And they're not that great a service either. And like they try to reel you in with like the first year is like $2 or $1, but then you don't want to, like if you're running a website, you don't want it up for only 1 year. You want it up for a long time. And then you're going to get hacked because it's you're probably installing all of the things in WordPress. Okay, so let's dotenvy. Okay, so let's see what there is. If I do, okay, so one thing I've learned, I probably shouldn't use cargo temp. I should probably like actually just create them. So let's go down and we'll do I don't have anything for like lessons or something here, so let's create a directory for this. No updated Rust version to go with. Oh, you left an old Drupal site without any updates. Then Drupal Geddon happened and you had to delete it. What happened? So what happened with Drupal? Because like I've never really followed Drupal, and it was like Drupal was like the big thing to use. It was like get off WordPress, go to Drupal. Drupal is better in like all the ways. And then I just like stopped hearing about it. It just like disappeared. Do I have my Zealage configuration somewhere? Yes, I do. Also, hello, Shadow Knight. How are you doing today? Is it Zealage? Yeah, there. So you can find the Zealage config and layout files. Although I may have changed them slightly. I don't remember if I've the config should be up to date. The layout may not be up to date. You still use it over WordPress? The thing is that if I ever want a blog type thing, I would probably just rather use something simpler. And these days, building a blog isn't that hard. It's you might as well just build it yourself. It's really weird where how we went from oh, it's really hard to build these things. You need so much stuff to okay, it's just crud. Just build it. Front end frameworks have made it so much simpler to do that kind of stuff. Yeah, you could use a custom static generator. There's so many of them now. They're so easy to use and they're so fast. Just write your blog, put your use GitHub pages and put stuff in there. But we're developers. We know how to do that. For everybody else, they don't have a choice. They're going to use WordPress. Probably because that's what comes up if you search for it. Let's see. Okay, so what am I doing? I want to do a cargo new environment variables. Should I call it lesson? We can do that. Environment variables lesson. All right, so first thing, we're gonna do a cargo add dot env y, and then we get this. Okay, so cargo add dot env. So run run the command cargo add dot env. While there are two features that we can use, we generally don't need them. We generally don't need them unless you're building an app using clap is a crate, right? So unless you're using the clap crate what are those what are those for? Which of course it doesn't say, because I think it was added back in, I think it was added way back in .env as opposed to .env. I think it's just there. And does anybody even use that? Was there a thing to actually see the, was there a way to search for the feature flags? There we go. Cool. The clap crates docs were really crazy. Now it seems better. I mean, that's great. This is not helpful in any way whatsoever. Let's see. CLI. Okay, what is going on with this? Okay, so we have CLI and that pulls in clap. And then clap has dependency of clap. What? Who writes blogs nowadays and who reads blogs? New generation don't have attention to watch video more than 30 seconds. Not time for reading. There are plenty of blogs now, but I would almost argue that most people don't keep a blog on their own system. Like, for example, the biggest dev blog that I know of is dev.to. And the biggest blog, like, I guess like there's three big blogs that I'm aware, like big blog sort of sites that I'm aware of. There's Medium, which has been on the decline for a long time. There's dev.to, which was basically an exodus of developers from Medium. And then there's LinkedIn, which is like, there's still not like a good replacement for LinkedIn, despite the fact that a lot of people are complaining about it and want something else. They just don't, there's just nothing better to go to. Plus also with any social media, you need people there. Like you can't just like start a blog on it and hope that people come. You create your blog where people are. And you were just thinking just yesterday of starting a blog, but that's the thing is like you can start a blog, just put it on one of those sites. The thing now is like most people use blogs less for like creating interesting content and more for attracting an audience. So like if I were to write a blog, which is still suggested for business people to write a blog, you write a blog with helpful content, but the entire point of it is lead generation. Is to say like, hey, if you like my content here, go take a look at my Twitch channel. Go take a look at my LMS. Like go like, you know, you might want to buy a course from me. Something like that. It's generally not like the blog itself isn't what you monetize anymore. Generally. I read random blogs when I search for something, not anything following. Yeah, that's very true. Like Google is a pretty good front end for blogs. Well, there are two features that we can use. We generally don't need them unless we're building an app using the clap crate. The clap crate. And as of Rust Analyzer. Okay, what version of Rust Analyzer added the ability to tell you what feature you needed? Or maybe we could just say Rust Analyzer has the ability to tell us when we need to enable a feature so that we can that's the ability to tell us when we need to enable a feature so that we can in order to use a function. Use a function or module. So we don't need to enable these features unless Rust Analyzer tells us. And I have never seen them be enabled. But then again, I've done some CLI applications I use .envy for those CLI applications, and I did not need them. Okay, so we have you. To install, okay, so we installed that. Then after installing dot env, we'll need to load it. We need to run it so that the it can find the .env file and load the contents into the environment. We can do that with recommended to do this at the top of the main file, the main function. Or wherever your code is like starting, like the entry point for your code, or the entry point for your code. So you might need this in like a test file or something like that. People use social media for thoughts. They will be writing on a blog. Today's blogs are more focused on tutorials, reviews, teaching. That's absolutely true. And then I would add one more type like on top of that, which is marketing and how do I want to word this? Like attempting to influencing. They're attempting to do influencing. So like you saw within the last like couple years, there was like a couple big things that were like we had like soft quitting. We had a few other like big things. Like there's been all those came out of LinkedIn blog articles. It's just like somebody writes a blog article, it gets popular, and then people start sharing it around. And it's really all like people are writing these articles to try to influence other people to make it more popular or less popular. So you have a lot of people going in and saying like, hey, you know, this thing sucks, don't use it, or this thing is awesome, do use it. And it's not even like a tutorial or something, it's just like trying to influence. It's not even a review. It's just a, this sucks, don't do it. And so like on LinkedIn you get a lot of like leadership type stuff, and so you get like a combination of people who are like, don't let your team work only 40 hours a week, followed by 30 hour, like 32 hour weeks are now the new norm, and like if you're not doing it, your company's gonna blow up and die, and you're gonna fail. It's like you get both sides, and it's they're just opinions. but they're treated as facts. That's where it gets dangerous. So like I guess in that case, blogs as fake news. And then blogs as real news too, because like there's real news in there as well, and that it gets confusing. Okay, so it's recommended to do this at the top of the main function or the entry point for your code. I can hear Zilby snoring. Did I cargo? I did cargo at that. So that's Helix. That we'll go into main. we will, let's see, .envy, .env. Now there's a couple things here. So if I do okay, this converts it to an option and I just don't care about it, discarding the error, or I can do something else. And I think, is this the recommended way to do it? No, the example is literally using, okay, well, that's a way to, is there anything in here? No, so it doesn't like take in a list of things. If you wish to ensure all variables are loaded from your .env file, ignoring variables already existing in the environment, use .env override instead. Okay, so we're not going to worry about that though. Usually positive influence doesn't reach as negative. I find most videos on YouTube about tech is I stop using X and go for Y after a month. Yeah, it's that hits it hits hard into like a core of who we are. It's easy for us to like want to share danger things with each other because then we're safer, right? Like there's danger stuff. It's a mind hack type thing, and it's the reason why like for forever it was like, hey, if it bleeds it leads, like that. It's shorthand for like, hey, if you know the news wants to go negative stuff because negative causes people to want to watch it, and the internet just took a little while to figure that out, but now it's there, and it sucks. I don't like it. I try not to do anything negative, which really sucks because I can't ever like there's a cap now. Like I won't ever like get to that same level, but that's okay. I want to like be known for like, hey, I'm positive, I'm calm, and I like, you know, I'll try not to lead anybody astray for clicks and views. Like that's my brand. That's what I'm going for. I think there's something to be said about some creative people really just like try a lot of different things. There's that too. Like I like to try a lot of different things. But all like when people come in, it's like, oh yeah, Rust sucks and all that stuff. And it's like, yeah, can suck. Like I'll try never to like be negative about a technology. I'll try never to be negative about another technology, even if they're shit talking like, you know, the technology that I'm using. I don't really think there's a benefit to that for me. There are a bunch of tools for the job, yeah, and the end result is always what helps the end customer, because like that's the entire point of this, right? Like why program if it's not helping somebody? All right, I'm gonna change this to an okay. All right, so if we do that, now we can grab. We now grab environment variables. So let's see, what did I have in one of these? I had oh, env. Let's use env as the example. So that env is going to be a standard var. Is it var? No, it's env. Var env expect we want to do something like that. We want to touch .env here. I can find that, so we'll have env equals dev. Okay, so that's great. We have use, and if I run you, there we go. Okay, so that works. Okay, so note that we're converting the result from the .env to an option using the .ok method. This will prevent the code from erroring out if we don't have a .env file present. Since some deployments won't use a .env file, it's important to to understand how the code will be deployed when choosing how to handle this result. Stacking, hello. How are you doing today? That is trick. I find many young people can't improve just because they are bombarded with new stuff and they constantly switch. Although, to be honest, when I was starting up to, that was also a problem. It was like, hey, there's all these new things. There's this new Angular thing. There's just jQuery. There's like just vanilla. What should I use? Should I learn them all? Should I learn everything? And it's like, nope, don't need to do that. Or like, even with jQuery, it's like, there's like a million different plugins for jQuery. Should we, like, I need to learn them all, right? It's like, no, please don't. I have a friend switching Linux distros because it trends on some distro company. Yeah, it's well, that's been around forever. That absolutely has been around forever. I was wondering how .env was using clap, and it seems the feature is related to the binary and not the lib. Really? Interesting. Okay, I didn't actually look that deeply into it. That's even more fascinating. I guess that explains why I didn't need it when I used the library with clap once with .env. Huh, interesting. You think you change distro about once every 5 years? Like, I think I used to do that. I remember when I was starting out as a systems administrator, I want to learn Linux. I want to learn all that stuff. I was living in a place that didn't have good internet at the time. We had dial-up, and so like downloading a distro was not gonna happen at all. And I remember back there was linuxiso.com or something like that. There was some website you can go to, and you could put in your address, and then they charged you like $1, and then they would send you like any distros that you wanted on CD. And it's like I ordered, like I think it was for $1 for each one. So like I ordered like Debian, I ordered Fedora, I ordered Red Hat, I ordered like a bunch of them. And just like that was like for a while I was like, okay, let me like put these in and like, you know, and try them out and see how it was. And then I eventually settled on like, okay, I like this Fedora thing. This Fedora is looking nice. And then Ubuntu started giving away CDs for free when it started. Absolutely. Which was a super good idea because not everybody had really good internet at the time. And then internet got big and it's like, okay, well now you can just download them. And then thumb drives got cheap and now you just like install in there. You broke your home PC installing Ubuntu 11 from Magazine CD. Oh, I remember the Magazine CDs where you can get them and like they had the CDs in them. And then you were really disappointed because somebody had stolen the CDs out of the magazine on the shelf, which just sucked. I remember that. It was really controversial when the Ubuntu Live CD got too big to fit on a normal CD. Do any of you remember like so when I thought it was like I was one of those like early sysadmins, like early people learning system and stuff. So when I was in college, I had read somewhere about Knoppix. Do any of you remember Knoppix? Knoppix? And it was basically it was a live, it was like one of the first live boot images. So you just like you put it onto a CD and then you just boot off the CD and then you just have your entire Linux distro. Knoppix was never meant to be installed onto the disk drive. It was just a live, you know, for live booting. And that was your first intro to Linux. I don't remember if it was my first intro to Linux, but I literally kept a copy of Knoppix in my emergency bag. So that way, if anybody was like, oh man, my computer's not working, it was like, okay, let me boot up with Knoppix and like I can do some like checks and other stuff. And it was one of my tools that I used to like check hardware and like also like, oh yeah, your disk drive's dead. Let's see if we can copy all your data off first, and then we'll like get off. Like let's see if we can at least get a little bit of data off. Okay, so we got that. And then finally we got it loaded. Okay, so then loading. Now I think dotenvy has documentation. Yes, they have loading compile time, which like I keep on wanting to be able to send people to like, okay, here, just look at this just look at this for like documentation, like go there. But I keep on having to write these articles because like I feel like the documentation isn't there. Isn't good. So all right, let's do this. Loading environment variables. All right, so we have two choices for when to load environment variables. Out of curiosity, when do you like to load environment variables? Do you like to load them into the binary, so at compile time, or do you like to load them at runtime, so that way you can change them depending upon where you host your code? No secrets in a binary, please. I wish that that was always easy to say, right? Um, I think that every once in a while you don't have a choice, but sometimes it depends. I like runtime if I'm using something that might be in a container. That's a good one. Isn't that depends on the purpose of the binary. The other thing is like you can use both, right? Like no secrets in a binary, but you can have non-secrets in there, right? So like we could have other stuff. When I compile the web app, so like the LMS web app, I need the environment variables for that need to be set at compile time when it builds, like when it does the trunk build stuff. So all those environment variables need to be at compile time. There is no runtime for a web site. But of course, all that stuff's running in a browser anyways, so it needs to be not too secret as well. Isn't that oh, I already talked about that one. Okay. These environment variables will be loaded when the compiler is executed. When a compiler is executed? No, when the binary is executed. When the binary is executed, this means that the environment variable needs to exist somewhere. Okay, I don't think I need to say that because we already said that. These variables will be loaded when the binary is executed. Not so I guess that we can use the standard libraries, standard env var function to load these variables. Rust Analyzer will not check that the variable exists. You don't like the idea of environment variables being in the binary unless you're compiling on the fly for some purpose. I can see like potentially compiling on the fly if you're like doing custom compilations for something, but Rust isn't really good at that. You start using the 1Password CLI so that my secret environment isn't stored in plain text on disk. I have not tried that. That could be interesting. I wonder if is the 1Password CLI compatible with like a .env system? It is? Oh, I'm gonna have to. Dude, I am adding that not to this list. I'm just gonna add that into my inbox. This is check out 1Password CLI tool, because that would be pretty cool. Uh-oh, what happened? Oh, that's a link to developer1password.com. Hold on, let me add that in because 1Passwords, they got good articles. So let me fix that. Okay. Ninjatron, can you try resending that link? I just told Nightbot that anything from developer.onepassword.com is cool. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Yeah, it works a bit like the .env CLI to bring the .env into the environment. Oh, interesting. Okay. Pretty sure you could do the same with Bitwarden. Anyone have an experience with that? I've never used Bitwarden before. Yeah, so load sequences in the environment. With 1Password CLI, you can provision secret references as environment variables to simplify the process of creating multiple configurations for different environments. As you set your environment variables to secret references, you can use oprun 1Password. Oh, that's not going to be easy to remember. To provision an app with secrets. Oh, I love that they're referencing the 12-factor app. Right, so obviously you need 1Password. You need to install the CLI. Store the secrets you want to provision your 1Password account. Copy a secret reference. Or just write it yourself. Pass the secrets to the application. Okay. Oh, so then, okay, so then basically we just do this. Using environment.env files. So, okay, you can basically do this. Right, then we can check. Then we can check these into source control, which is like so like against the norm, but like it makes sense because this isn't the actual key. And then you basically says, hey, now replace these with like the values. Oh, and you can even differentiate between environments, which means then you can run it in production. Oh man, so if you set this up for production, then that changes things a huge amount, because like right now, if you want the let's say you're on AWS and you want the ability to have passwords that are easily what is it called, that are easily revolved, changed, what am I thinking? It's something circular, rotated. If you want to like rotate your secrets, which is a good idea, like especially if you think they've been compromised, or if like a developer has left and they had access to this, and you're like, you know, okay, we need to rotate them, then it's like a pain. Either you have to manually go and like open up everything and change all the environment variables, or you have to pay something like AWS for like the secret store, which is expensive, or we can use this, which is way better, because then you could just change the value in 1Password and bam, it's changed everywhere. Just reboot your server. And it's GitHub Actions and stuff. Okay, so this is the best. This is awesome. Xanax, hello. How are you doing today? All right, I'm not going to put that into this one here because I don't know, like most people probably don't have 1Password. Is 1Password a cloud service or also self-hosted? They've been moving towards cloud service a lot recently. They're one of the only passwords that, like, password managers that I would trust with cloud service, mostly because all the people that I know who are security people say that they're the only one that they trust. I believe that you can not like self-host, but you can basically just like log in locally and like not share the passwords out, and it's only on that device. So you could do that, but then like the entire point is that your passwords are synced across all devices. Their architecture is very interesting. It's been like a long time since I've looked in it. And they're a rest shop. Oh, that's nice. I do know that they write a lot of security white papers, which is a good sign. Like they like all these systems should be writing white papers, right? Like I mean technically we all should be writing white papers as we like discover new things, and if we figure something out, we should write like a paper to like help it out. It's just that we don't have time at our day jobs to actually do that. Let's see. What's one of these other ones? We could do like we could do the database URL. Now, which one is this from? That is not the envy I want to use. Oh, I need to pull in the macros. Right, there's a macros crate that I need. Here's a list of some of their crates. Ooh. 1Password crate publisher. Well, that's pretty cool. You have 2 pages worth of stuff. Nice. All right. All right. I've been getting messages and it's also a little bit after time, so I think we'll have to call it for now. We're almost done writing this article. I want to add in the ability to do what is it? I want to add in the finish the example. So we need to add in the database, the .env macros, I believe. And so that's that. Let me double check. We're all saved here. Yeah, I know you're upset. I'll just leave this up on this profile, and that way it'll be waiting for us to continue this afternoon. So we'll get this going. The dependents for syslocal include Tori. Wait, are they building? Their desktop app doesn't use Tori right now. So are they building a new desktop app using Tori? That'd be amazing. That'd be awesome. All right, so let's go ahead and we'll end the stream for right now. I have to go off to my day job, go and do some more research on SOC 2 stuff, which is going to be fun. Probably no coding for me during the day, so my next coding will be like finishing writing this out later this afternoon. But I will be back this afternoon. My schedule is to be streaming later today at 2:30 p.m. Mountain Time, which I believe is still GMT -6. We haven't had our time change yet. So that's that. I'll be back around then. So I hope that you all have a great rest of your day, and I will see you next time. Bye.